Thank you for coming to the 2019 Welcome Day for the newest class of IMT School PhD students. We are very happy to invite to the podium the Mayor of Lucca, Alessandro Tambellini.
Buongiorno, porgo il mio più caloroso benvenuto. Porgo il mio più caloroso benvenuto agli studenti italiani e stranieri che frequenteranno i dottorati della Scuola IMT Alti Studi e colgo l'occasione per invitarli a visitare e a conoscere la città e il suo territorio ricchi di cultura, monumenti e bellezze ambientali. La nostra città non è di grandi dimensioni, ma si è affermata più volte nella storia a livello internazionale grazie alla capacità dei suoi cittadini.
I warmly welcome both the Italian and foreign students who will take part in the PhD programs at the IMT School. And with this occasion, I invite them to visit and explore the city and its surroundings, with its wealth of culture, monuments, and beautiful natural landmarks. While our city is not large, it has affirmed itself internationally multiple times throughout history thanks to the abilities of its citizens.
Della Lucca di epoca longobarda e carolingia conserviamo importanti e rarissimi documenti, testimoni della frammentazione della scrittura e della cultura del nostro continente prima che Carlo Magno fondasse la struttura dell'Europa che oggi conosciamo e prima che la scrittura carolina modificasse la comunicazione e la riunificasse nel nostro contesto. Nel Medioevo la città rappresentò una delle più importanti capitali per la produzione dei tessuti di seta. I commercianti e banchieri lucchesi, assieme agli altri toscani, inventarono gli strumenti della finanza moderna e offrirono credito e beni a stati e sovrani.
From the Lombard and Carolinian eras, the city holds important and rare documents which bear witness to the fragmentation of the writing and culture of our continent before Charlemagne founded the structure of the Europe that we know today, and before Caroline Minuscule unified the communications of that vast context. In the Middle Ages, the city was one of the most important silk production centers. The Lucchese merchants and bankers, together with other Tuscans, invented the tools of modern finance and offered credit and assets to states and sovereigns.
Nel Rinascimento questa terra fu estremamente fertile non solo per le lettere e le arti. A Lucca furono accolte le idee della riforma protestante e numerose e importanti famiglie si convertirono e decisero di trasferirsi nella Ginevra protestante. E anche quando, minacciata da prepotenti vicini e lontani, Lucca si circondò di una formidabile cinta muraria e si fece più diffidente per conservare l'indipendenza, i suoi eruditi e i suoi studiosi parteciparono a fondare la storiografia e le scienze moderne. Dai torchi lucchesi furono stampate opere proibite, fra le quali la prima edizione italiana dell'Encyclopédie di Diderot e d'Alembert.
In the Renaissance, the land was extremely fertile, not only in terms of literature and the arts. The ideas behind the Protestant Reformation were accepted in Lucca, and a number of important families converted and decided to move to Genoa. And even when, threatened by enemies both near and far, Lucca surrounded itself with its formidable periphery walls, wary of preserving its independence. The city's sages and scholars played a part in founding the historiography and the modern sciences. Forbidden works were printed from the Lucchese printed presses, including the first Italian edition of the Encyclopédie by Diderot and d'Alembert.
Oggi, grazie a IMT, si rinnovano la tradizione e la vocazione internazionale della nostra città, ai più alti livelli culturali e scientifici. Per questo ringrazio sia il direttore Pietro Pietrini, per il lavoro che svolge con evidenti risultati, sia il presidente della Fondazione Lucchese per l'Alta Formazione e la Ricerca, Marcello Bertocchini, per il sostegno che dà a questa nostra istituzione.
Today, thanks to IMT, the city's international tradition and vocation is renewed at the highest cultural and scientific levels. For this, I thank both the director, Pietro Pietrini, for the work that he's carrying out with evident results, and the president of the Lucca Foundation for Higher Education and Research, Marcello Bertocchini, for the support that he gives to this institution.
A voi studenti auguro di lavorare con passione, mossi dal desiderio profondo di sapere aiutati dall'acutezza degli strumenti di approfondimento e di critica che oggi sono disponibili. Con queste competenze vivrete la gioia della condivisione e della divulgazione dei doni della conoscenza, divenendo intellettuali autorevoli e amati, contribuendo al bene comune di un'umanità che, come è dato di vedere, non è caratterizzata da un'ascesa continua verso i valori positivi, ma che si deve conquistare ogni giorno con fatica i frutti del progresso scientifico e tecnologico nel segno della sostenibilità sociale, economica e ambientale del pianeta.
To you students, I wish for you to work with passion, motivated by the profound desire to pursue knowledge within in-depth and critical tools. With these skills, you will experience the joy of sharing and disseminating the gift of knowledge, hence becoming authoritative and admired intellectuals. You will contribute to the common good of a humanity which, as can be seen, is not characterized by continuous ascent towards positive values, but rather must be earned every day with hard work, the fruits of scientific and technological progress for the social, economic, and environmental sustainability of the planet.
Per questo vi do il nostro benvenuto in mezzo a noi e buon lavoro per i prossimi anni.
Lara Bertoccini. Bertoccini. We have now invited to the podium the representative from the IMT School Administration, Lara Bertoncini, who will give her brief remarks.
Good morning and welcome. My name is Lara, and I'm the head of the HR offices and the staff representative in the Board of Governors. Today, I'm very happy to welcome all of you on behalf of the IMT School Administrative Director and staff. I just want to give you a hint on who to look for and what to do if you need any help. I would like to introduce you briefly to your go-to people here at the school. First of all, the students' representatives. There are 3 of them, and they are members of 3 different boards. They know very well how the school works and play an active role in it. But they are students like you, so it is easier to interact with them. Then I would like to point out the Joint Students and Teachers Board, also known as Commissione Paritetica Docenti Studenti in Italian, which is a board composed of 3 students and 3 professors, appointed by the director. This board acts as an internal evaluator of the education offering of the school, and it also monitors the quality assurance of the academic programs and student services. To get in touch, please send an email to this address. Here is an overview of our administrative organization. The head of the organization is the Administrative Director, Alessia Macchia, who manages and organizes all the administrative services within the school. In doing so, she is supported by the Director's staff and External Relations Office and the Operational Management Group. There are then 8 offices covering all the services, from student services to campus management to IT and so on. I will not go into details now, but if you want to know more, feel free to either check our website or come to meet us in the San Ponziano complex. Thanks to an agreement with the USL Toscana Nord-Ovest, which is the local health unit, all of you can access the psychological support service simply by sending an email to this email address. In order to guarantee your privacy, an email sent to this address could be read only by the people in charge of the service at the local health unit. Psychological support services include welcome interviews and brief psychological consultations that can be carried out individually or as a group for those who request service. And to conclude, I would like all to remember that we, as a school, take a zero-tolerance approach to bribery and corruption. Hence, if you see any illicit behaviors or bribery offenses taking place at the school, you must report them promptly by sending an email to our dedicated email address. That's it. Thanks a lot for your attention, and once welcome.
We now invite to the podium the director of the IMT school, Professor Pietro Pietrini, who will give his address.
Good morning and welcome to the IMT School for Advanced Studies, Lucca, which I have the honor and privilege to direct since November 2015. This is a very important day for all of you, because it's your first day, the official welcome day to our school. And you should know that you were selected from almost 1,500 applications, so there is a very high ratio between the position offered by the school and the applicants' position, the applications, 1 to 45. You really represent the whole world, at least in terms of applications, since we obtained and received applications from over 100 different countries. Selection process is very tough. Only 10% of the applicants were admitted to an interview, and only of these 10%, basically only 1/4 or even less of them were admitted to the school. So if you are here today, it's because you were selected. You are one of those 32 students we carefully selected. At least we tried to carefully select them. And you have over 300 students who have earned their PhD before you here at the school, because we are a relatively young school, and with relatively few positions. You can see here how the school growth has grown over the years in terms of application, and has stabilized around 1,500 applications every year through different selecting strategies that basically try to increase representative from different geographical areas, including the Far East, and to discourage applications from individuals who are not highly motivated. And it basically tells you what I already told you in words, you can see graphically. So what are we? We are a school. First of all, we are a school, one of the 6 special schools that our country has dedicated to higher formation. And these articles that you see here are very important, and allow me to read them for you. The IMT School for Advanced Study Lucca has been founded with effect from the 2005-2006 academic year as a superior graduate school with the status of a doctoral college, whose statute annexed to the present decree is approved. This was November 18, 2005, and that's why on November 18 each year we celebrate Welcome Day. It's not a merely coincidence, and we could have used the November 18 day for other celebration. For example, Scuola Normale Superiore, which was founded by Napoleon on October 18th, uses that date, at least has done for several years, including the present one, for the inauguration of academic year, which is one of the other important dates for academic life. The reason why, rather than celebrating the academic year inauguration, we celebrate Welcome Day is because we want strongly underline and emphasize how important you are for us. We are a school, and if we exist because of you students. It's our privilege, before even being a duty, an academic duty, an institutional duty, to teach, to transmit our knowledge, to give you the instruments to become more critical, to grow, not only as scientists, researchers, professionals, but as human beings, to stay on this planet with a stronger will to understand, to always challenge the actual knowledge, the current knowledge, and to go over and beyond what has been accepted and known since that moment. So that's why we use the day of our birthday, November 18th, the day we were founded, the day the school was created, the day the school became, by law, a school, to celebrate Welcome Day rather than inaugurational academic year day, which is strongly, greatly important. And you will see over the next few months, you will have another inauguration, of course, for the current year, but is not as important as today. Because if a school was founded, it's because of you. It's because we are called to teach to you, to transmit to you, not only our knowledge, not only what we know, not only what we have done, what we do, what we will do, but to transmit to you the passion for knowledge, the rigorous methods that you need never to neglect, to forget when you do research, and not only when you do research. This is what we want to do. Other schools in Italy, other 5 schools, some of them are really older, like Scuola Normale Superiore in Pisa, 209 years, or Scuola Sant'Anna, which is 30-year-old, 32-year-old, and the others are basically share with us the same institutional mandate. And we are working together along with them, particularly with Scuola Sant'Anna and Scuola Normale, more so with Scuola Sant'Anna, because Scuola Sant'Anna is very close to us, not only spatially speaking. Both Scuola Normale and Scuola Sant'Anna are in Pisa, only a few miles from here, for those of you who don't know the area. But also, Scuola Sant'Anna shares with us many goals, many disciplines, and they have a sort of complementary background and disciplines to ours. And we are enhancing and developing and fostering the dialogue between us and the Scuola Sant'Anna. Even last week we had a conjoint seminar and other initiatives. And what you will see over the next months and years to come will be a growing dialogue with the other schools, and in primis with Scuola Sant'Anna. I will not go into details of how we are organized, because you will find out that it is on the web, and everything is just to put some faces to names of people and to roles of people who will also join the podium this morning, some of them. So, as I said, I'm the director since November 2015. It's for me a great honor and pleasure, and something I really carry with most devotion. We have a deputy director, is Professor Ennio Bilancini. He's an economist, can't be perfect. And then we have an administrative director, Dr. Alessa Macchia, who cannot be here today for institutional duties elsewhere, and has been well represented by Lara Bertoncini, who I thank for her kind introduction. We have an academic senate and a board of governors, as any other institution like us, and the delegates also, who are professors from the school, who accompany myself, who support direction with a specific mandate, And Ennio Bilancini is not only the vice director, but is also delegate for accreditation process. Mirko Tribastone, we'll talk later on, is a delegate for didactic activities, higher education, IT service. Marco Paggi is delegate for research. Emanuele Pellegrini is delegate for internationalization. Emiliano Ricciardi is the delegate for relations with alumni, social policy and equal opportunities, and Nicola Lattanzi is delegate for innovation and relation with institution and business. So these delegates are part of a governance of a school, and they carry out the specific mandate that I just read. The school is relatively small so far, which is not bad. Is actually a peculiarity of schools with special status. We are not the smallest school. We are between, in the middle, I would say. Scuola Sant'Anna probably is the school with the greatest number of professors and researchers. But as you can see, at the moment, we have 16 professors, 11 are full professors and 5 are associate professors, 10 tenure track associate professor, assistant professor with tenure, and we have around 25 fixed-term researchers, postdoc and assistant professor, and then, as you can see, 36 administrative staff personnel, and altogether, including those who still have to obtain their PhD diploma, we have 163 PhD students. We receive funding from the government, being a public school, what is called the FFO, Fondo Finanziamento Ordinario, which means ordinary funding support, something like that, for around 8 million euros a year. And we also are relatively well competitive in obtaining money from outside sources, including the government, European Community, private foundations, and so on and so forth. In the period from January 2018 to last October, the school has obtained around 2.5 million euros from additional sources. These are our professors. Basically, all of them are here today. I thank them for being here, and you will see them around because of a campus model, which is actually an important, is not one, I would say, of the most important features here at the school. The campus model means that you students live here, and bear in mind that campus doesn't mean merely that this is a hotel, that you have a room, boarding room here, you lodge here. It's not that. Campus means that you live in the school, because the school for the next 4 years will be your home. Will be where you live, will be where you interact, will be where you exchange ideas, where you will grow from a student to a PhD graduate. You will interact with researchers, you will interact with peers from different disciplines, you will interact with your supervisors, with professors. We don't live here during the night. I mean, we don't live here, but we live here during the day. We eat at the same cafeteria with you. Campus means that, means a sort of melting pot for people who come from different backgrounds, different countries, different status. Residential campus is where we are now, is a wonderful place, is the second most ancient convent, Franciscan convent in Italy, which was fully renovated by Fondazione Cassa di Risparmio di Lucca through FLAFR with a great investment, and was inaugurated on July 6, 2013, fully inaugurated, and that's where you live now. We are actually trying to expand the campus for about 50%. The Fondazione has acquired a nearby complex that you see here. It's just a few steps away. It's in between this place and the administrative office place. And we have already a project which has been approved by the government with funding. And as soon as the funding will be officially erogated, the project will start. And so over the next 2-3 years, we will have an expanded campus even greater than the one we have today. What are our strengths? Our strengths are the multidisciplinary model, meaning that here you will find we are 16, and basically 16 full professors and 10 tenured researchers who come from different backgrounds. We don't have a organization model in departments like in the general university or in institutes like in other places. We are all together from different backgrounds, from different what we have in Italy are called settori scientifico-disciplinari, scientific disciplinary sector, something that you cannot explain to someone who is not Italian, but basically are strict classifications of what you are. And here you find representative from most, or many at least, of this SSD, who work with a multidisciplinary model. And let me be clear on what I mean by multidisciplinary approach. Multidisciplinarity doesn't mean that an economist or a psychologist or an art historian know a bit of everything. That is not multidisciplinarity. That is nothing. It means that here we have the best among the psychologists, the economists, the art historians, the computer science. I don't name everyone, but really from every discipline, the professors here are among the best you can find in our country and internationally. And the people who are here, who are the best, or among the best in their specific discipline, come here because they have an open view and an approach, an interest to the dialogue with other disciplines, with the boundary disciplines. So they don't study a specific thing just because of that specific thing of a discipline. We don't have psychologists interested in the mechanism of memory in itself or of decision-making in itself and molecules involved in the decision-making process. We have psychologists who are interested in how we make decisions in social context, in economics, how we act under pressure in ethical conditions, what this means for automation, for example, or for other things. And just make one example. I could go over and over on this example. So multidisciplinarity means this, means a constant dialogue among researchers and scientists from different fields. And this reflects very much in the structure of our PhD program, where you will have the opportunity to take classes which basically embrace different disciplines and are open to everyone. You have noted as applicants that we don't ask for a specific degree to admit you to a PhD course. We ask that you have, of course, a superior degree, I mean a master's degree to be admitted to our PhD. But we don't ask which kind of degree do you have and which application, which PhD are you going to apply. Because our PhDs are open to everyone because of this. So you will find colleagues who come from very different disciplines from yours in your same PhD track. We have main strategic objectives. I don't want to go into this because it will be too much for the first day, but we are expanding our educational activity, moving from the PhD-based model to additional didactic activities, including winter and summer schools, which have been a lot over the last years. We are growing, incentivizing research activity, third mission, and relation with the territory. We are hosted by the Lucca City. Lucca City and his major, Professor Alessandro Tambellini, have been and are very supportive of our activities, very close to us, and I thank the major for always being here at our ceremonies and bringing the welcome and the warmth, I would say, the official warmth and the personal warmth of the city. So it's important to be in connection with the territory, and we are expanding that. And as I said, the coordination with other special status schools. We put a strong emphasis on the student growth. And over the last couple of years, my colleagues and myself have wondered how we could improve our PhD courses, and we could improve the way we want to form you, the goal we want to pursue with the highly selected students, with you, that are here, who are here, and who expect the best from us. So one of the things we thought was good to do, and you are actually the first one to experience this, is to extend the length of a PhD course to 4 years. Why 4 years instead of 3? Because PhD is a period during which you should really grow and become mature as a researcher, whether or not you will stay in academics or pursue a different personal, professional opportunity. And in a world where rush seems to be the dominating word, where everybody is competing to make things in a shorter time, I learned a couple of weeks ago that even surgeons sometimes compete. At the end of the day, say, how long did it take to you to do that? I said, 45 minutes. I did in 42. And this is really stupid, because I think that the time you need to do something is the time you need to do something. And in a period where you live in a period in which there is a huge pressure to publish, there are all these indexes, which are, is what we abide. I mean, H index, citation index, number of papers. When you will be a little bit older in career, you will have to do this habilitation and this scientific habilitation. All this will become familiar with you. So how many papers you have, how many times have you been cited, how many. The famous publish or perish locution is becoming a bit too much. So we are trying to teach you to take your time to reflect, because it's not so important in how much time you do something, but how you do that. So we extended the PhD to 4 years, maintaining a formula which is very flexible. It's 4 minus 1, which means, well, if you think you are ready in 3 years because of many reasons, because your PhD program, your PhD project is not so time-consuming, because you don't want to pursue an academic or research activity career, but you have a great job opportunity from abroad, from Italy, and this happens to you. Some of our students receive offers in the second year of PhD from United States, from England, from other places. So you don't really need to spend 1 more year working on your project. You have the opportunity to obtain your degree in 3 years, which is, of course, allowed by the law. This is how our PhD are organized. We have 2 main PhD, and you will hear about them today from colleagues, so I don't want to enter into this detail. We also have collaboration already in place with other universities for PhD courses in co-tutela, so in parallel with other universities. We have one actually master science course with Scuola Superiore Sant'Anna with University of Pisa in bionics engineering, and we are working on other master science opportunities over the next few months. I mentioned you the academic winter and summer schools. We just concluded one, and one is starting in a few days. You see them listed here for the past year, and these are an opportunity for you students to interact with students and participants from other places, and to have, to hear and to learn from professors from different places. We place a lot of emphasis also on the international connection, not just because of internationality, but because we live in one planet, and sometimes we forget that we are all on this globe, and we are all in a small globe if you look at the globe from outside. And it's important to know what other people think, how other people, scientists or not, approach problems, because that is always a growth. We teach not to be afraid of other people, of a different one. And this is easy for me because I am a physician, so I study behavior and evolutionary behavior, so to speak. So one thing that as a physician you learn when you study biology is that diversity is the true power of nature. If we weren't diverse, we weren't so different from one from the other, none of us will be here today, because we would have been extincted. So migrations, exchange, biological exchange, cultural exchange are the true strength of nature and culture. And those should be encouraged like we do. We don't have any discriminatory criteria other than merit. If you enter at the school and you succeed over your colleagues, is because you were taught to be the best. Taught to be because we are not infallible, so we may commit mistakes, but usually we don't. In a great percentage of cases, we select the right people. So our motto is the world in Lucca and Lucca in the world. And this graph shows you that we already have collaborations with many institutions. Many people go abroad, students, professors, researchers, and many students, professors, researchers come from abroad to the school in this dialogue and exchange. We have a strong visiting professorship program because of what I just said. We believe and we are convinced that exchange with others, hearing different voices, hearing different perspectives, seeing what people do in different countries, in different cultures, is the real strength for becoming a very critical and gifted researcher. So, Welcome Day is today. It's such an important day that around Welcome Day we also have a research symposium. We are now at the 4th research symposium, where in this day and a half we will have an opportunity to learn a lot about the school, what we do here, what researchers do. And so please stay and listen carefully to what your older colleagues and professors will present over this day and a half. Even if at the beginning, maybe this will be sort of I don't know what I'm listening to, it's a good introduction to what we do at the school and a good way to enter the school life and activities. So Welcome Day is our central day. Welcome Day will always be November 18th to sign, to mark what I just said before, that we exist because of you. We have an academic year inauguration ceremony, which varies depending on in time, depending on the availability of a speaker and other things in the first months of the incoming year. And then another important day is graduation ceremony, which again will be along with a research symposium. Graduation is when, today is too early to talk about graduation ceremony for you, but in 4 years, 3 years, 4 years, finally graduation ceremony will be here in the same room. You will be sitting here like today, but hopefully you will be sitting here with a much more mature mind, an open mind, critical instruments. And if we will be successful in providing you with stronger critical skills, with a greater curiosity for what surrounds you, with the ability to always ask why, no matter what you see. You see a swinging lamp and you ask why does the swinging lamp swings in that way, like somebody did not far away from here 500 years ago. If you will be different from what you are today, different in the way I said, a conscious researcher, knowing that in a Socratic way, you know that you don't know that much, and so you want to pursue, to push yourself to know more, to challenge the only boundary that a scientist and a researcher knows in his or her life, which is the boundary which separates knowledge from ignorance, we will have been successful. So my best wish to you on today, the day you enter officially the school, is to enjoy, in a true sense, your 4 years with us, and to absorb everything that you will have the opportunity to learn here, and to offer, and I thank you for offering us the privilege to teach you. Thank you and welcome to Lucca.
We now give the floor to the professors of the IMT School for a presentation of the 4 tracks. We invite to the podium Professor Massimo Riccaboni to present the track in Economics, Networks, and Business Analytics, which is under the System Science PhD program.
So first of all, welcome. I'm gonna spend a few words on a PhD track, one of the 4 PhD tracks we have here at the school. This PhD track is in Economics, Networks, and Business Analytics. Well, it existed since the 2005, since the foundation of the IMT school. And you see here some numbers, like the total numbers of enrolled students we have, which is 36. And by doing some simple computation, you can tell that, as the Professor Pietrini, the director, said, it's hard to graduate in 3 years, because you see we still have students enrolled since the 13th cycle. And most of students are in the 4th year haven't graduated yet. So as an average, it takes 4 years to graduate in economics, and this is not like just here at IMT, it's true in general for many PhD courses around the world. The second take-home message of this slide is that you see we existed, as I said, since the 2005, and I heard from the colleague sitting close to me, Ennio Bilancini, who is a professor of economics, that one of our students who graduated in the first cycle became the youngest full professor in economics in Italy at the University of Bologna. And the graduate, she's a professor, so it's a woman. And this is even more important. So in just 10 years, she successfully became a professor in economics in Italy, in a very good department in Italy. So I think this is just a single case, but it's not the only professor from IMT or in Italy and abroad, but I think it's a signal that, well, if you work hard, you can really succeed. So the Professor Pietrini says something about interdisciplinarity. I prepared just 3 slides about that, because you can read here, our PhD track is for interdisciplinary community, and even students of this year, previous year, and so on and so forth. You already know there's people in physics, you've been trained in physics, economics, math, computer science. So it's really mixed in that respect. And I want to first say what interdisciplinary research is not, and next to say what I think it is. So Professor Pietrini has already said interdisciplinarity is not like being a generalist scholar, right? So it doesn't mean that you know a little bit of everything, but you don't master a specific discipline, because this is not going to be an effective strategy for your career and your research in general. So of course you are exposed to many disciplines here at IMT, which is a campus, is a small place, let's say relatively small. It's a graduate school where you can interact with people coming from different disciplines, but it doesn't mean that you have to know at the same level all that disciplines and master all of them, because that's simply impossible. So what to do instead? Well, another possible thing you can think about is to be multivocal, but this, of course, is not. You see some of the synonyms of multivocality from the vocabulary, very simple. It doesn't sound great, right? So it typically doesn't have a positive meaning, let's say. So being able, so you can try to stretch yourself to become half an engineer, or if you come from physics, to become half an economist. But, you know, those things, maybe it's too hard to believe. And, well, there's been some successful cases in history, like Cosimo de' Medici, that's one of them. But, you know, it's kind of challenging. Okay, let's go to what I think is important about interdisciplinarity. Well, we can take some lesson from economics. So we think that, you know, interdisciplinarity has a lot to do with innovation. So innovation means coming up with new combinations, right? That's the definition by Joseph Schumpeter, and I think it's kind of founding our common knowledge about entrepreneurship in general. So it's not just about innovation, it has to do with some entrepreneurial spirit. So it's kind of trying to find new combination to be impactful, to come up with some impactful publication. All right, so last thing I have to say, well, just about some numbers and some hard research on disciplinarity. This is a publication 2016 in the Administrative Science Quarterly Journal, which is titled Prominent but Less Productive. So as an average, interdisciplinary scientists are less productive, so there's some penalties to interdisciplinary science. We said, well, the risk is to be perceived as generalist. And maybe you have to face hurdles to get your research being published in good journal. This is on the negative side. And maybe you're perceived to do some superficial, low-quality type of research. That's a risk. The benefits? Well, the benefits, you can be innovative. This comes from innovation literature. And impactful. So as an average, interdisciplinary science will get less publication, but more citation. So this is the trade-off. More important than that, it's a high-risk, high-reward type of endeavor. So it's not so easy to be an interdisciplinary. It's hard life. So it's better to be a specialist, because all evaluation schemes are designed for specialists, and this is what we learn from the theory of categories. Like you get classified in a field, you're an expert in a field, and you proceed to be competent in that field. So this is a challenge. It's a challenge to you, it's a challenge to us. How to train you to become good interdisciplinary scholars. Okay, and this is our mission. All right, so numbers, we already seen some numbers. So we said, the director already said that we kind of selected you out of many. We got many applications. About 1/10 of you have been invited for the interviews, and next we selected around, you always select about eight students in economics, networks, and business analytics every year. And most of students turn out to be Italian. This is not by design. We get application from different countries around the world, but it tends to be kind of, we get more high-quality application from Italy. Well, we've been also we are evaluated as scientists, and we have been evaluated by our national agency for the evaluation of scientific research, and for 2 times we've been top in rank in the evaluation, and we're getting ready for the new round. And I have also to tell you that, well, our excellent production was really interdisciplinary research. So we have colleagues like Guido Caldarelli, a publication in Nature Science, myself, I have publication in PNAS, not just in economics. So I think this is a distinctive trait. That's why I stress it in the presentation. Okay, so as for classes, we got the calendar already, and I'm very happy of that. And you also recently, maybe you've seen around the calendar of our seminar series. We scheduled 13 seminars so far for this year, and I want to encourage you. I don't want to say it's mandatory to be at the seminar, but I think it's extremely important to attend seminars and to interact with visiting scholars, go to the reading groups. Those activities are very fundamental. We think they are essential to you, including first-year students. Okay, so the director already mentioned that we have two agreements as for now. One, the oldest one, is with KU Leuven. Some students already graduated, they got a double degree, meaning a degree IMT degree and a KU Leuven degree. And I think that's very good for the job market because it gives you more opportunity for your career in Europe. And we have a similar agreement with the University of Alicante, with some more recently. We went 3 weeks ago with Enio to present the double degree program in Alicante. And we have many Spanish students in the track, so maybe they are sort of experts of what's going on in Alicante. You can refer to them or ask them for information of what the department in Alicante is about, and we are kind of focusing on experimental economics and other fields. And we have a student, Sara Landi, who is also, by the way, one of the representatives of the students, she's been there for a while, and she knows very well about the department in Alicante. I think that's it. That's all I have to say as for today. Of course, you can come to my office or write to me if you have questions you want to ask. And again, welcome you here in Lucca. Thank you for your attention.
We now invite Professor Mirko Tribastone to give his presentation of the track in Computer Science and Systems Engineering, which is under the System Science PhD program.
Okay, so good morning, everybody, and welcome to Lucca also from my side. After the words of Massimo and Director, I think we pretty much understand what we mean by interdisciplinarity or multidisciplinarity here, so I'm not going to spend a few more words on that, but I would like to tell you what we mean in our track, which is the sister track to the System Science PhD program together with the EMBA track. So already from the title, we are joining two different ways of looking at things. So the computer science part and the systems engineering part. And there is a common theme that we are running throughout our PhD program, even if we are considering different backgrounds, mostly from these two disciplines. And our common theme is to look at objects that surround everybody nowadays, that consists of parts that are both digital and physical. A typical example that is very close, maybe very close to you at the moment, can be your smartwatch, which is digital, of course. It has got a battery, but it's also sensors for your heart rate and other things. And there is a continuous interaction between these two different worlds that is not only at the kind of wearable level for people, but also in industry. This name, Industry 4.0, may be kind of familiar to you or not, but it's the idea of adding more smartness, if you like, to plants. And the morphing materials, smart grids, new ways of generating electricity, all these kind of things are showing this interaction. And sometimes analyzing these two parts, continuous and physical, continuous and digital, together is significantly more difficult than analyzing them in isolation. And there is a term for that, which is called cyber-physical systems, and that's exactly what we are looking at, or most of our emphasis is there. And this is the interdisciplinary part. There must be some form of communication between the engineering, the computer science, and the other disciplines. And within this context, then there is the properly disciplinary part, which is summarized on the right-hand side of this slide, considering really a part about computation, so computer science, and that's done within the research unit of SISMA, to which I belong. There is a part about control, how to do optimal decision making in face of kind of real-time information available from over the world and so on. And of course, there is also the part about developing new materials that are capable of providing this information for control, for analysis, modeling, and prediction. These three parts are essentially associated, each of them, with one research unit. SISMA, as I said, DISCO for systems control, and MUSAM for multi-scale analysis of materials and the computational mechanics in general. At the moment, we have 37 PhD students, and as I said, they are coming from different backgrounds, mostly electrical engineering, computer science, chemistry, engineering, and also mathematics. And we had about 1 over 3 applications to this program were applications to our track. There is a point here about the external funding, which may not be directly interesting to you, but actually it is more than you think. So you know that you're already quite lucky because you are generously supported with the scholarship, lodging, and other activities. You have a small budget allocated for your own expenses. But in general, also statistically, this is not enough for you to be competitive. In many cases, you travel to conferences, you want to set up networking and other things. Maybe you want, or your advisor will organize summer school, winter schools, events that attract people and allow you to grow professionally. Those things cost, they have a cost. And typically, the funding that comes, as generous as it might be, the funding that comes from the school cannot be enough. So as professor, we typically apply for funding, and we've been quite successful in that. That's good for us, but importantly, it's good for you. And we have attracted lots of funding. I will give you some more details later. Now let me go somehow into the brief presentation what we are doing, starting in a strict alphabetical order with DISCO, which is about systems and control engineering. And the idea here is very simple. You have some real process, can be a car, it can be a plant, a smart grid, can be a watch, you name it. But this process takes some inputs and produces some outputs. And what you would like to do is to control. So to put some device in front of it that given some reference target, so keep the temperature at some level, and given the output of the system, devises an algorithm that allow you to track, to set the desired target for this system. In the presence of large amount of data, which comes very fast, being able to make this operation efficiently is a major problem. And that's exactly the main mission of the DISCO research, of the DISCO research unit. And as you can imagine, there is lots of applications to many, many different areas. In particular, Alberto and his group, they are very well known for model predictive control, which is a way of doing online optimization as a way of controlling systems, numerical algorithms, for example, for implementing these systems in small embedded devices, and the system identification, being I have a system, I don't know how it looks like, I cannot give you the equations that are needed for the mathematical optimization, then I want to identify the system. For example, starting from data, using some form of optimization or machine learning methods. And here are some of the topics of research, including, as I said, machine learning, reinforcement learning, numerical optimization, and you will see some of these things in the courses that we run for our PhD program. And of course, there is a lot of applications, in particular multidisciplinary research. As everybody else in this school, we are involved in multidisciplinary projects that have been promoted by the school itself. And here is, for example, in this particular context, there is an application to markets. So the research unit consists of one full professor, Alberto Bemporad, one assistant professor with Mario Zanon, and a number of PhD students. Publications here, I wanted to show this slide because ultimately as PhD students, in particular in a track, you will be evaluated based on your academic performance, and academic performance means the papers that you publish. And it is the most fundamental index for being able, for you to be able to be competitive on the market. And we have a very strong, publication record, in particular also with students and also with visiting professors that Professor Petrini was mentioning before. Innovation, Massimo was teaching us that interdisciplinarity is also innovation. Innovation also means going into the market, the real market, and within DISCO is one of the first, is the first spin-off that was founded within the school in 2011. SISMISTED is the research unit to which I belong, led by Professor De Nicola, and there is a unit, this is a unit that is devoted to studies in computer science, and in particular in theoretical computer science, and more specifically in formal methods, which are ways of mathematically dealing with computation. So for the modeling, the analysis, and the prediction of computer systems. There is a lot of research that is done in different areas around the subject of formal methods, including, but not limited to, cybersecurity, cloud computing, also work in dynamical systems, which is very related to what I was talking about with DISCO, performance prediction, programming languages, the theory and implementation of programming languages, and the verification, how to prove that something is correct, with lots of applications in many different disciplines. So cyber-physical systems and Industry 4.0, but also to the analysis and prediction of behavior in social networks. Sorry, let me go back. And many other applications. So we can divide our work in fundamental research that is supported by funding agencies at the national, international level, and also some applied research, which is done together with industry, within schemes, for example, that have been supported by the region. And for the interdisciplinary research, we are involved in a number of projects, including these PI projects that have been supported by the school, where we work at intersection, in this case, between computer science, economics, neuroscience, and physics. And there is another project within the same scheme that has been about tools for fighting fake news, which is again at the intersection between computer science, physics, and statistics. And another project which is instead at the intersection between computer science and cultural heritage, with lots of applications that you can see there. And there is also a very strong visibility in terms of cybersecurity. Rocco De Nicola is the director of the cybersecurity, the Tuscany Cybersecurity Center, one of the leading figures in this area at the national level, with lots of events that you will see that are organized here around this very topic. Now let me move on to the museum unit. The museum unit is about computational mechanics, multi-scale analysis of materials, and that is led by Professor Paggi. We want to assistant professor, a number of postdocs, and 8 PhD students at the moment. We stress a lot, I didn't do it before, but we stress a lot the international network that was also stressed in the previous presentation. That's very important for you, for everybody, but for you in particular, to establish your own network of collaborations. And here you can see some of the collaborations that are done in this research unit. And as I said, sometimes funding is not enough. You need, for example, for experimental work, for engineering work, you need some labs as well. And we have a museum lab, which is about exactly the topics of this research unit that was supported by ERC, which is the most prestigious funding agency at the European level. With applications to many areas, fibrous materials, flexible electronics, also to biology, in particular with the reaction diffusion systems. And the core of this unit is about really computational methods for mechanics. Again, with the funding available, with a substantial number of publications over the years, and also with innovation in the market. And the 3 Tower is the second spin-off company of the school that was recently founded by Marco and his collaborators. Good, so how do we get to there? How do you get to better understand what is going on here? Well, you do that by attending our courses, if you want. We have a number of courses that we consider as being foundational, and they can be open to everybody, so to students also not belonging to our track, because they assume very little background about the topics themselves in many different areas. And then also there are some advanced courses, which are instead more appropriate for students that are studying one of the particular subjects that we are doing in our track. And there is also a long seminar that I strongly suggest everybody to attend about funding and management of research and intellectual property. That may be, you may consider it kind of being too far away from you, but actually not. And the ability of, for example, getting funding even at the level when you are still a PhD student, for example, for exchange programs, is a great opportunity for you and looks very great on your CV. So the placement, we are proud to say that we have an excellent placement across all the research units. Our students essentially found a job much earlier than finishing their PhD. Sometimes that's so bad for academia because there is a strong competition with industry, but nevertheless we can place our students in academia as well as in industry, including the spin-offs I was talking about before. And that holds for the PhD students, so for you, but also for the assistant professor, all the non-tenure track staff that is affiliated with this area, whom you will meet during your kind of day life here at IMT. And with that, I think that I've hopefully have given you an overview of what we are doing. We are always around, so just knock on our doors. We'll be happy to discuss any of these things with you. And that's it from my side. Thank you very much for your attention, and welcome to Lucca again.
We now invite to the podium Professor Emanuele Pellegrini to present the track in Analysis and Management of Cultural Heritage, which is under the Cognitive and Cultural Systems PhD program.
Thank you. I'm sorry, humanities takes time. So. Perché sulla chiavetta va a fianco. Okay, thank you very much. Our track is based on two parts. The PhD track in Analysis and Management of Cultural Heritage, and one research unit, Links, directed by Professoressa Maria Luisa Catoni. And our track has also a completely different history from the other, because it was founded at the very beginning when IMT was born in 2005, but it was closed in 2007 and 8. It was based mainly on technology. It was closed, and then Professoressa Maria Luisa Catoni was asked to reshape completely the PhD track. And after a feasibility study, we got 10 years ago exactly the presentation of this new PhD project and the beginning of our PhD track. In 2011, we have the foundation of the research unit Links. Our paradigm is completely different also from the other PhD track in cultural heritage in Italy and abroad, because we put the cultural heritage at the very center of our research interest, and we use the tools coming from different academic fields of discipline to solve problems of managing cultural heritage. Since we are in Italy, probably we are in the only country where the problems related to cultural heritage are so complicated, so complex in terms also of case analysis and case studies. So technology, economy, and of course all the discipline related to humanities, mainly archaeology, art history, and museology. The same is for the background of our students. We don't select our students according to their background. We have students coming from different research fields, archaeology, art, architecture, legislation, philosophy. And also in our case, it's very important to say that, to underline the fact that also in archaeology, who is coming from United Kingdom has not the same background of an archaeologist coming from Italy, because in many cases, the methodologies are completely different. So we have to face also this kind of problem of background. This is just simply an overview of the application, the trend of application. Basically, is just about 40–50% of foreign and Italian. And this is the structure of our brand new 4-year PhD track. The first year attending classes, the courses, which are mandatory, are very relevant, also because of the reason that I already said, because students have to merge and to face this new way of teaching cultural heritage. We have the second year with a period abroad, and usually 6 years, from 6 months to 9 months. Then the third year for the thesis writing, and it is still possible to defend thesis at the end of the third year, and then the fourth year for defense, the thesis submission process and defense session. Our courses are based on historical, philosophical, juridical, and institutional issue, but also on economics and management, and information technologies applied to cultural heritage. Our courses are research-oriented courses, meaning that basically they are a seminar on case studies in order to explain the case of management of cultural heritage and its relevance. Probably we are the top PhD course as for placement. We are the 93% of placement of our students, both in academic career and professions in the fields of cultural heritage. And here you have the list of some institutions where our PhDs are working now, both and especially also in cultural institutions such as museums, or the Kupferstick Cabinet is the print and drawings cabinet of Berlin. Briefly, I'm try to show you our faculty, which is growing larger in the last 2 years. The full professor, Maria Luisa Catoni, who is the founder of this PhD track and the director of the research unit Links, and full professor of classical archaeology, Professor Lorenzo Casini, full professor of legislation of cultural heritage, and Professor Amos Bertolacci, full professor of history of medieval philosophy, of course. Me too, Emanuele Pellegrini, associate professor in art history and the PhD track director. Then we have, as a senior, it means the people that are working with us since quite long times, Linda Bertelli, assistant professor in visual studies, and she's the coordinator of the seminars for the research unit Links, and Yeshim Tonga, which is who is a very relevant figure for us because she graduated IMT in 2014, and she, apart from their research, which are very relevant because she's, for example, working with Lucca Comics and Games, and she opened up a brand new research field, but also she's a sort of a guide for the students at the very first year, because she knows perfectly well the IMT, gear. And then we have our brand new faculties. Since the last 2 years, we have a lot of new assistant professors: Riccardo Levito, professor in archaeology; Alessandro Poggio, professor in archaeology; Andrea Verardi, assistant professor in administrative law; Silvia Di Vincenzo, assistant professor in history of medieval philosophy; and Andrea Magliari, assistant professor in administrative law. We build up our work also involving many visiting professors. We have some visiting professors that who are working with us since the very beginning, especially Stefano Baiacurioni and Paolo Albini from University Bocconi, and Professor Andrea Zocchi. They helped us in shaping our PhD track and helping us also students to find placement and job after getting their PhD. And then we have also visiting professor or professor who are doing lectures at IMT, which is like, I'm going to mention Professor Strelke, which is an emeritus curator of the Philadelphia Museum of Art, and Professor Carlo Ginzburg, who is a visiting professor and is emeritus professor at the Scuola Normale and many other important universities in the world. Since the last years, we had this important agreement with the Nucleo Tutela del Patrimonio Culturale for the Carabinieri. We started cooperation with this important institution for the protection of cultural heritage in Italy. And Professoressa Maria Luisa Catoni just made a sort of important agreement also involving other university and the Parco Archeologico di Pompei, the Museo Egizio in Turin, which is a sort of a model of our way of working. I mean, binding up, combining our the research made at the university and the life of the cultural institution, especially museum and worldwide important museum like Pompeii and Museo Egizio, which are offering us the top, the top museum in the world, and so relevant problem in the management of cultural heritage. Here, just to conclude some topics of our research, of our PhD thesis and our research, difficult heritage and the problem of image and space analysis, which are all related to the current problem and also contemporary society. Our cooperations with external institutions are based on 3 main levels. On the territory, which is very relevant for us. We work with, for example, recently we signed an agreement with the Musei Nazionali di Lucca for I mean, the re-establishment, the new management of Palazzo Manzi and Villa Guinigi, and so the Superintendenza Lucca, but also at the Italian level with the Superintendenze, and many international institutions like the Humboldt University, the King's College, and the Getty Research Center in Los Angeles. So, welcome to you all. Thank you very much for being here, and have a nice day in Lucca. Thank you.
We now give the floor to Professor Emiliano Ricciardi to present the track in Cognitive, Computational, and Social Neurosciences, which is under the direction of Professor Pietro Pietrini, and which is within the Cognitive and Cultural Systems PhD program.
Good morning and welcome to the new students. I'm going to present, it's a pleasure to present today this, our track on behalf of the director. It's going to be a little bit difficult to find something original from what has been previously said by my colleagues. I will do my best. Well, first of all, let's try to explain that the main mission of the track that overlaps with the MOMI-Lab unit is the idea of studying the way we represent the external world. And obviously, for doing that, we are not just relying on behavior or on cognitive aspects, but really the idea is to try to understand the neurobiological basis of what we represent in the external world. And this obviously opens collaboration on several aspects, and our researchers are involved in projects that are going to dialogue with bioengineer, bionics, artificial intelligence, aspects related to perception and dialogue with cultural heritage, and most important with the track of economics, and I'm going to explain it a bit more detail how this dialogue is actually built. Well, if I have to summarize, I should say that our track has the idea to integrate basic neuroscience methods, including genetics and molecular biology, with experimental psychophysiology, cognitive neuroscience, and mainly brain imaging, both the structural and functional aspects. And we are going to decline these aspects mainly obviously in educating our students in getting acquainted with the basic methodology of brain imaging, but also in the aspects of research and also third mission. Well, I have to, again, copy a little bit the track, the 4 year that our sister curricula in cultural heritage was highlighting. So the idea is the first year to be dedicated mainly in attending classes and seminars, but most of our students also start some kind of supervised research activity. Then, at the end of the first year, generally you have to define your research project, and along the second or the third year, we also try to do our best to send you abroad and to get acquainted with other realities. And generally, the 4th year will be dedicated to, to finalize the research activity and start, obviously, submission of your thesis. Obviously, it's a theoretical aspect because we never tried that, and our track started 3 years ago, so we have our first students that are going to graduate in the next month. This is a little bit, again, as Mirko was presenting, the core of the structure. Generally, you have some foundational courses, mainly related to neuroscience. And we also decided to have a sort of like cognitive and social neuroscience for dummies. I mean, this is mainly open to other tracks because we do want to have people, students from other tracks, to get acquainted with the aspects of neuroscience. And at the same time, you see how you can have advanced courses, but what we rely a lot is what we call contamination. We do really open to co-teaching experience or specific topics where neuroscience opens to other disciplines and acts to be as a glue among disciplines. As you can see, if you look back to the 38 students that our track enrolled, most of them has a background in psychology and neuroscience, but we are really open to any other wide gamut of backgrounds ranging from medicine, biology, physics, bioengineers, and even humanities. Well, if we have to summarize a little bit the research, we won't enter into detail, but just provide a glance of topics that are covered, questions that we are trying to deal with. You see that, as the director was pointing out, it's not just a matter of having specific topic within neuroscience, philosophy of science, but at the same time opening with some translational and clinical approaches that really make then neuroscience strongly dialoguing with other disciplines. Well, this is the faculty members. Each of these faculty member is like experienced on a specific topic, and most of you have been already assigned to an advisor. Looking at our 30 students is quite interesting. This year we got really half of our students coming from abroad, and this is really encouraging. If I have to highlight, you see like a lot of papers, like 1/3 of our papers are likely co-authors by our PhD students. So it's really promising that at least from the small numbers, the preliminary numbers that we have, students get to discuss and defend their thesis with 2-3 papers that has been accepted already. We have several projects. Again, as all other units, we are gathering funds from other external sources. It could be a national level, local level, European, and we have also subcommitted to research. One important aspect is that I would like to highlight is that in the last years, in collaboration mainly with Professor Nicola Lattanzi, we have been setting up what is called the Innovation Center Lab Neuroscience. One of the major European banks, Intesa San Paolo, has been dialoguing for us for 2 years in order to really come up with the idea of having a lab specifically focused on this relationship between brain and business. The lab is actually growing, been raising funds and projects for more than €1 million in the last 2 years, and it's not getting also to expand to some didactic aspects, but really show this incredible growth and in a very innovative way. It's not just really how neuroscience is really looking and describing business and management, but it's really trying to start from principal neuroscience to impact how business and management could deal with. So it's very interesting that we have projects really ranging from management to marketing to human resources in a way by gamut. Looking at methodologies, we are mainly relying on electrophysiological techniques, psychophysics, and also brain imaging. We could not have our MRI scanner into a convent, but what we are doing our best is to build up a multidisciplinary lab, and this is a lab in which we have not just access from students and researchers of the neuroscience unit, but we have projects coming from cultural heritage or behavioral economics that strongly rely on our techniques. So in San Ponziano, at the ground floor of the administrative office, we have a space where we are going to have our electrophysiological systems, and we can really record several parameters. So this is one thing that I would like to highlight. This is really an open space for all students where they're going to acquire the data. Obviously, for the neuroscience students, typically they spend a lot of time here at the school as compared probably to other tracks, and this is because most of the time they have to really acquire every day their data, the experimental data, analyze the data together with their advisor and supervisors. We have a lot of collaborations that your former colleagues are like experiencing. So we have students currently abroad in the UK, Germany, Spain, and the United States. And I hope that also newcomers could really exploit this network of collaboration we have both nationally and internationally. This is an example of seminars that has been spent and visiting professors. The two highlighted are those that are going to come. And what I'm like impressed is that we have been able to attract highest profile in the field of neuroscience with a strong multidisciplinary approach. And this is not just to get feedbacks and advice on your research projects, but mainly also to get ideas of how you can deal with your academic life and your research life. We don't have any kind of statistics about placement because, as I told you, our first students are gonna defend their thesis in December, but I could say that the first 4 students that are gonna defend their thesis already have a job position after their discussion. So before even they're gonna defend their thesis. So quite happy about that. And this is both in academia and industry. Not just research, but also have a lot of scientific and dissemination activity. These are also events that as unit and track we've been organized in the past and also going to upcome in the next 2 years. This is obviously a great opportunity for the students in order to participate major international meetings, but at the same time, obviously it's much more important also have these activities like locally where we count on them to really spread the news about how neuroscience could impact everyday life. So welcome again to the school, and thank you for your attention.
We now give the floor to the student representatives who will give their addresses. The first will be Natalie Masang, student from the 34th cycle, from the Analysis and Management of Cultural Heritage track.
Hi, everyone. I want to thank you, first of all, for being here today. I'm very grateful to be part of this community. So my name is Natalie. I'm in the second year of Cultural Heritage. You can probably tell from my accent that I'm from North America. This does not mean that I'm American. Okay, I'm Canadian. This is very important to start. I come from a collegiate background from the University of Cambridge, so I understand the value of being a part of a small community. I came to IMT for a variety of reasons. The main reason was an academic one. My program is the only PhD in Italy with a focus on cultural heritage and management. I also knew that my research needed a place that valued interdisciplinary approaches. I'm an historian of art and architecture, but my research also looks at applying digital technologies. So I'm applying a digital mapping tools to the study of historical cities in order to examine the variety of spatial relationships that were occurring in early modern urban environments. So my work, I feel, has really found a home here. When I first started my PhD, I really thought it would be like this. Instead, it is a lot more like this. I won't sugarcoat this experience for you, and it is my hope that you have chosen this path in order to grow into a better version of yourself. Over the next 4 years, the greatest opportunities for growth will not definitely come from the academic challenges. Instead, they will come from the human relationships that you will build. It may be a lonely experience. It will certainly make dating a challenge, not just because of the roommate situation, but because you will shortly become married to your work. Also, it is with not personal experience, but with knowledge that the cleaning ladies know everything. The small community of IMT can be your greatest asset, and the more you give to this community, the more you will receive in return. Because PhD life is a lot of consoling and being consoled. The question is not, will you cry, but when? The greatest advice I can give you is to embrace vulnerability. I really love this quote from Brené Brown. Vulnerability is not winning or losing. It is having the courage to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's our greatest measure of courage. So are you willing to show up and be vulnerable, to break down the facade that you know it all, and to be your authentic self with your community? Because this may be the greatest challenge of your PhD. Admitting to your supervisor that you have made a mistake or that you need help, presenting less than perfect work to a colleague, or telling your friends that you have no idea what you're doing. All of this will make you feel extremely uncomfortable. But when you have the courage to be vulnerable, you will realize that you aren't alone, and that everyone around you is also experiencing some form of symptoms of imposter syndrome. Finally, embrace the experience. Get involved with the IMT community. Be kind to your community. Clear the racks, please. Wash the pots. If it's 2 a.m., turn the Netflix down, okay? It is also extremely important to step away from the convento and to go the distance beyond the walls of Lucca, okay? And so my greatest advice to you is to show up. Have the courage to be vulnerable, to grow your mind and your soul, to be prepared to fall. And I promise you, we will all be here to help you back up. So welcome Cycle 35 to your IMT community.
We now invite Francesco del Prato to the podium, student from the 33rd cycle from the Economics, Networks, and Business Analytics track.
So good morning, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here and have the honor and the possibility to greet and welcome the new students from the new 35th cycle. I know you have been around for the last few days, maybe a week, but you will get to learn IMT and its dynamics constantly over the time you're gonna spend here in the next years. And you come with the news, which in my opinion is great news, compared to us, the old ones. You're going to be here for 4 years. And I want to start from here to testify one great strength of this place, which is its ability to change. IMT, you'll discover, is a small community. And this may come both with good and bad aspects. But one thing is for sure. As a small community, every one of you is going to be a real, active, and alive part of it. You will have the burdens and honors to shape it, influence it, and contribute at it. And IMT, you'll see, will show the great ability to listen. And this is a precious thing. When I arrived here 2 years ago, I had the immediate feeling of exchange and interaction, not only between you students, not only between the topics, and you saw how much interdisciplinarity is a key word in this place, but also between students and professors, visiting professors, administrative staff, and even the infamous cleaning ladies. Sometimes in this process of contribution, I may have been myself a pain in the neck of IMT. For example, following the experience of other PhD students in other schools, I annoyingly asked to the possibility to serve as teaching assistant in my track for some courses, and I hope I have helped more than I have bothered. For sure, it was a great experience for me. It enriched me a lot, and the school was open and flexible in welcoming it. The ability and commitment to contribution is something I want to stress, not only inside this community, but even outside it. And since there are going to be 4 of us on this stage for students, 1 for each track, allow me for some chauvinism, and let me address the MBA students now. Studying economics is a terrific business, because we are the ones studying people. We study how people interact one with the other, how they choose, how they behave, and how to help live better, to be richer, and hopefully freer. Many refer to economics as the dismal science, but it's probably envy. As you will know, economics is a very young field, which has been theoretical, and I mean purely theoretical, for a long time. And as every young field, it is constantly, violently changing. And economics has been through an earthquake recently, which is a name, and the name is data. Data is the revolution that has shaken economics in the last 30 years, allowing us, as researchers, to truly have the possibility to investigate people behavior. Still, I believe that data is nothing without theory, especially in our field, which always remains a social science, embracing many of the most important questions on present and future: poverty, migration, labor innovation, business, public policy, and politics. So ultimately, how you take decisions and why you do so. Since you contribute to this research, try to do it in the most respectful and committed way, since it may happen you will find yourself to help people tomorrow. It is going to be tough. It may be the case you eventually will come up with hating what you're doing, I mean, really. But grit your teeth and keep pushing. It will pass with good work, or this is at least what I keep repeating to myself every day. IMT will give you great tools, for theory for sure, but in particular for data analysis. Tools that many other institutions do not have, tools that come from interdisciplinarity and that make up a great comparative advantage for you. Exploit it, use this advantage, come up with your theory and do great research. It will not be easy, I mean it, really, but it will be worth. Good luck and welcome again.
We now give the floor to Isabel Perez, student from the 32nd cycle from the Computer Science and Systems Engineering track.
Good morning. It's really difficult to be the third one in speaking because what can I tell you in 5 minutes that is going to enlighten your experience in IMT and that my colleagues and professors have not said already? So instead of preparing a speech, I just will tell you 3 things that I wish someone would have told me 3 years ago. And the first one is, look for the opportunities. Opportunities will come to your life, and the important thing is to be wise enough to recognize them, but even more important is to be brave enough to pursue them. You see, in 2016, I was about to discuss my master's. I have everything figured out. I was doing something I really loved. I was using unsupervised learning, applied to something real, to electrical time series. I was really, really happy with my work. I had even enrolled in another PhD, and everything was working out. And then one day, I checked my email, and I saw a newsletter. And I never read those. I think no one reads them. But that day I did, and it was the IMT call. And the deadline was the next day. So I just could not stop thinking about it. And when I arrived home, I said to my mom and my dad, look, I found this, and I think it's interesting. And I was looking into it. And I know that I'm already in the middle of something. I'm about to finish something here. But what if I try? I don't know, should I? And my mom and my dad said something to me that I will never forget. And it was, if you don't try, then you will never know. So that night, I translated all my documents, I put my grades up, and I applied. And I forgot about it for 2 weeks. And then panic. They said yes. So weeks afterwards, I was leaving everything that I knew. I was leaving my family. I was leaving my friends. It was the first time that I saw a plane in my life. I come from Cuba. It's a very small country. We're not as developed as the rest of the world. And I did not know what it was a cashier. I did not know what it was a credit card. I did not know nothing. It was a completely new world, and it was a complete cultural shock. Also for the people. Europeans are very different than people from Latin America. I was terrified, and look at me now. I found something that I like to do. I am working in exciting new projects. I have met very supportive and wonderful people. I have met really wonderful friends. And I even met my future husband, so I think it really paid off. So to my back self 3 years ago, you did right. So that's my first message. My second message is for all of you who start today. And this is for the day that will come, when you will panic because you don't know what you're doing. You have no idea what you're working on. Whatever you're doing is not good enough. Your results don't work. Your paper was rejected. Maybe you're not good enough to be here. That's what you will be thinking. And that day, I promise you, it will come. Maybe more than once. And you will feel terrible. And you will cry. And you will need friends. And people will tell you, it's okay, you're good. But you will not believe them. Because you will be thinking, I'm not as good as. So when that day comes to all of you, I ask you a favor. Avoid the need of comparing yourself with someone else. Forget how brilliant is your supervisor. Forget how brilliant is your role model. Forget how brilliant are your classmates, your partner, whoever it is. Don't. Just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and look at you 1 year ago. Where were you 1 year ago? Where are you now? And you will be surprised to see that you actually advance. You did things, you discover new things, you learn. You're a different person, you have growth. And that, I promise you that that will help. So remember that when the difficult times come. And my final message is similar to the ones that my friends have said here. Enjoy it. 3 years sounds like a long period of time, but they fly. So make sure that you're doing something that you really love and something that you're really passionate about, because you will not have time to see it pass through. Do what you love every day, research what you like, read what you like, talk to the people that you feel good about, get out, have fun, read your papers, do your research, and hopefully, when this 3 years pass, you will go out with wonderful memories, wonderful friends, a couple of publications, and hopefully also your title. So enjoy the ride. Thank you very much.
We now invite to the podium Giada Lettieri, also a student from the 32nd cycle, from the track in Cognitive, Computational, and Social Neurosciences.
Thank you. Good morning. First, a little disclaimer. Thanks to the Arno that floated Pisa, I was told to speak like 5 minutes ago. So excuse me for both my appearance and what I'm going to say. So I will be very brief for the reasons that I just mentioned, but also since everything basically has already been said. What I feel now is really, as a student that is about to graduate, that these 3 years really fly by. This welcome day seemed like yesterday, that I was greeted and I was sitting there, and we were all like with Isabel commenting on everything, and we were all just so eager to start and to see and to do, and it was really wonderful. So enjoy this time. And what I can say from my experience in neuroscience, but also what I see from other tracks, is that here at IMT you have some professors that are here like from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Take advantage of that. Go to their door, knock, ask anything, and you will always find that they are available and they will welcome you. And as my experience, I mean, I got shouted at only once or twice, so it's still worth it. And also take advantage of living in the campus, living in Tuscany, and enjoy this time here. But mainly, so as Professor Pietrini always says to us, a researcher is driven by a special flame, and here at IMT this flame can only grow stronger. It cannot go extinguished. So please take care of this flame and do the research that you want to do in the best possible way. Thank you.
We thank the students for their remarks, and we now invite to the podium the representative from the IMT School Student and Alumni Association, Ilaria Zampieri.
Ok, perfetto. Okay. So, good morning, everyone. I welcome you on the behalf of the president of the IMT Student and Alumni Association, that is Davide Bacciu. He was supposed to be here today, but unfortunately he's stuck in Pisa due to the weather condition, as you already know. The Student and Alumni Association was constituted in 2016 with the aim of fostering and developing interpersonal, cultural, and professional relationships between the school students and the alumni. And by creating and maintaining a broad network of people to share knowledge and experience, to share our career. The association's goal for the next 3 years is mainly to launch new and various activities, to extend the value and promote in national and international spheres the school's scientific excellence and research reputation, but also the welfare of the school and of its members. Another aim is to create a network that will actively support the job placement. That is an important point promoted by the IMT School Alumni Association, by capturing those synergies and by reinforcing shared values that we start sharing and discovering during our 3 or 4 years of PhD path. The executive committee consists of 10 members that have been elected by the General Assembly only in July 2018. It consists also of the director of the IMT school and of the president of the Fondazione Lucchese per l'Alta Formazione e la Ricerca, or their delegates. As the director, Professor Pietrini, told during his presentation, the school exists because of us. There is no way for the school to grow without our constant growth as humans, first of all, without our interest to learn and to keep studying. It's the same for the Alumni Association, nothing different from this. Also, Alumni Association is made by us, not by the 10 members of the executive committee, but made by all the students and alumni belonging to the school. We need to keep it alive exclusively by an active contribution. It's because I tell you now that any ideas, suggestions coming from you are really welcome. The association is made by the contribution of each member of it. In any moments, you can come to us and ask and speak and share ideas, suggestions for the events, for the activities we are going to do during the year. So I invite you to be active and to interact with other members among you and also with us. The opening event of the association took place last June, on 7th and 8th June, and it was split in 2 days, during which the participants had the opportunity to actively participating in different activities like mentoring and networking, as well as garden dinner and wine tasting. Why not only mentoring, networking, but also convivial occasion? Because through networking and mentoring activities, as well as through convivial occasions, we keep on sharing our knowledge, our experience and careers beyond the sharing of physical space during our 3 or 4 years of PhD path. Throughout these 4 years, you may find a job, you may create important links, I wish you to create them for your research, but you may also change your idea of what you want your career to look like. It happens. The Alumni Association will offer all these opportunities and experience to better shape your ideas and your professional profile. But most importantly, the association will help shape your personality through all the relation and interactions that you will have, because the important thing that I personally think is that you will bring to work what you really are. I give you some contacts of the association. I invite you to visit our Facebook page, LinkedIn page, and Google site to write us, to keep in contact, and to actively participate in the organization of the events and activities during all the year. Thank you.
A big thank you to everyone for coming to the 2019 IMT School Welcome Day. I ask the newest students and all the professors to come up here to the podium. We're going to take a group picture. The rest of you are welcome to go to the coffee break, which will take place in the Canova. We remind all of you to come back at 11:30 sharp for the start of the research symposium.
Non importa, dai, non si rovinerà. Senti, ho solo quel file dentro, non ti preoccupare. Grazie.